One rainy day, an old woman walked into a big department store in Pittsburgh. She had no plan to buy anything. She just wandered around. Most of the salespeople took one look at her and turned away. They saw no profit in her. But one young man walked up and asked if he could help. She told him straight away she was only waiting for the rain to stop and would not be spending a dime. He did not walk away. He stayed. He talked with her, not to sell her something, just to treat her like she mattered. When the rain stopped, he walked her to the door and opened her umbrella for her, like she was family. Then he went back to work and forgot the whole thing the way you forget a good deed once it is done. Months went by. Then one day he was called into his manager's office. There was a letter. A woman in Scotland needed someone to furnish an entire mansion. The order was enormous, and she had one condition. She wanted that young man specifically, no one else. The man who had given his time to a woman who seemed to have nothing to offer. That old woman was the mother of Andrew Carnegie. Hold that image. It carries a truth that most men never find, not because it is hidden, but because they are looking in the wrong direction. Opportunity does not always knock loudly. Sometimes it walks in soaking wet, looking like nobody important. And the hard truth is this: most men spend their whole lives chasing the big moment while ignoring the small one that actually leads there. They want a great reward but skip the quiet test that decides whether they deserve it. I know this lesson well. It cost me years to learn it, and years cannot be returned. They can only be used wisely or thrown away. Almost 20 years ago, I sat across from Mr. Carnegie and asked him the secret of his success. He smiled and asked me first to define success. Then he told me the real engine behind everything he built was not one brilliant mind, but many minds working together toward the same clear goal. I heard him, I wrote it down, but I did not truly understand what he meant. Not yet. The seed was planted that day, but it did not grow right away. It took years. Years of watching people fail who had every talent, and watching others succeed with less simply because they followed certain laws instead of following their feelings. That is why I say it took me a lifetime to learn something that sounds almost too plain to be powerful. The secret to winning in life is not buried in some mystery. It is sitting in the open. Men just refuse to respect it until regret forces them to. A man can read a good principle and nod his head and walk away exactly the same as before. But when he sees what ignoring that principle has cost him, when he adds up the wasted years, the broken promises, the doors he shut on himself, then that same principle stops being words and starts being fire. It becomes a command he cannot ignore. You do not lose your life in one big collapse. You lose it slowly. In the word you did not say when courage was needed, in the effort you held back because nobody was watching, in the discipline you postponed because today felt harder than tomorrow. If you want a better life, stop asking for a better world first. Ask what needs to change inside you. Decide what you will stand for. Decide what you will no longer accept from yourself. Decide what you will do, whether anyone is watching or not. Decision is where control begins. Look again at that story in the rain. The young man did not get lucky. He held himself to a higher standard before any reward was in sight. He made himself useful when there was nothing to gain. That is how life chooses its winners. Most people measure their effort by their paycheck. They do what they are paid to do and then cannot understand why nothing more comes to them. But the man who gets ahead has learned something the drifter never will. Life promotes the man who gives more than he is paid to give, and the opposite is just as true, and it should shake you. Life punishes the man who holds back his best. It makes him average. It makes him invisible. It turns him into someone who complains about having no opportunities while he is turning them away every single day. This is why time becomes the enemy of most men. 1 year of carelessness becomes 5 years of bad habit. 5 become 10. Then, one morning, you look in the mirror, and the face looking back is older than you expected, and somewhere inside you a quiet voice asks a terrifying question. How did I get here so fast? Do not wait for pain to teach you. Do not wait until you are forced to look back and count everything that slipped through your hands. I have done that, counting myself, and I can tell you clearly that a man can let a fortune pass right through him without drinking, without gambling, without any obvious sin, simply by not paying attention. Here is where I have been leading you. Winning is not a moment, it is a way of being. It is the habit of commanding yourself, the habit of thoughtful service, the habit of seeing opportunity where others see only inconvenience, the habit of carrying a clear purpose into ordinary work. In this speech I will share what I wish I had understood sooner, before time had taken what it took from me, so that you do not spend 25 years learning what can be learned today. I will not hand you the whole answer in a single sentence, because those who are not ready will only laugh at it. Instead, I will walk you into it the way a man is walked into truth, through story, through law, through the mirror of your own life, until you cannot look away from the conclusion. And when you finally see it, you will understand why so many men work hard and still end up with so little. Listen as though the next 25 years of your life are sitting right beside you, watching to see what you decide today, because they are. Part 1. The Law of Hidden Seeds. The power you plant when no one is watching. Every great reward I have ever seen in life was born in silence. The work no one witnessed always came before the success everyone noticed. The true secret of winning is obedience to a law you cannot see, giving more than you are paid to give. building habits when no one is applauding, planting seeds of character that will not bloom for a long time. The story of the young clerk who was kind to Carnegie's mother was not a story about luck. It was a law working exactly as it always works. The man acted on principle, not on calculation. He served when serving seemed pointless. That one quiet moment of courtesy set something in motion that he could not see and did not plan for. Service always comes before reward, just as planting always comes before harvest. Men love to talk about luck because luck lets them off the hook. But I will tell you plainly, luck is just the name careless men give to cause and effect. The man who keeps serving when others quit. The man who does his work without needing to be watched. The man who improves himself when nobody notices. That man is never unlucky. He is simply placing himself in line with the law of increase. The richest rewards in life are never attached to the actions that make noise. They grow from small repeated acts that most people consider too minor to bother with. Great fortunes have been built on the smallest courtesies. One act of genuine thoughtfulness can lift a man out of obscurity because it shows exactly who he is when he thinks no one is looking. I call this the law of hidden seeds. The world pays with delayed interest, not instant reward. Every time you give your best without expecting recognition, you are depositing invisible capital that will pay you back in time. The man who serves without an audience becomes someone others cannot do without. The man who serves only when he is being watched stays ordinary. There are two kinds of men in this world, the drifter and the definer. The drifter does only what is asked of him and then wonders why nothing better ever comes. The definer lives by principle rather than by mood. He exceeds what is expected not to impress anyone, but because his self-respect demands it. One man lives under impulse, the other lives under law. Henry Ford was called a fool by men who laughed at his early engines. He worked in silence while they ridiculed him. His invisible hours became his visible empire. The man who obeys law while being mocked will one day be obeyed by those who mocked him. The world eventually serves the man who first served it without guarantee. This law reaches everywhere. The teacher who prepares beyond what is required. The craftsman who perfects his work when no one is looking. The father who keeps his promises when no one is checking. All are moved by the same order. Every small act of faithfulness is a seed planted in ground that does not forget. Most men want payment before performance. They bargain with life like traders at a market. Pay me first and I will work later. But life is not a market. It is a field. It only pays those who plant in faith. Life rewards consistency before it rewards production. The man who performs above what is expected attracts rewards above what he imagined. I once knew a coal miner who studied by lamplight after long shifts. Others laughed at him for reading beyond his place. Years later, he became foreman, then owner. His invisible preparation had been quietly at work long before the reward appeared. He had obeyed the law in silence, and silence had multiplied his return. This law is both moral and spiritual. What you do when unseen determines what you receive when seen. A man who cannot serve without an audience cannot lead with honor. The law knows the difference between show and sincerity. Obey it long enough, and your name will carry a quiet power that cannot be faked. Repeat these words each morning. I plant my efforts in faith. I do more than I am paid to do. My labor is my proof, my patience, my investment, and my results the harvest that cannot fail. These are not just sentences. They are instructions to your mind, which grows whatever is planted in it again and again. Repetition builds permanence. Every act repeated under discipline becomes a law within you. In time, the act becomes instinct, and instinct becomes destiny. The man who trains himself to serve without selfishness eventually stops forcing himself to do so. It becomes his nature. And those who live this way begin to give off a kind of steadiness that others feel before they can explain it. Employers, partners, friends sense it before any proof appears. Character gives off its own light, even when the man himself does not notice it. Faith without service is only hope. Faith expressed through work becomes something that draws the right things toward you. I have seen men of deep faith pray for opportunity while refusing to prepare for it, but I have never seen a prepared man denied. The world bends toward competence, backed by belief. Thomas Edison proved this law through experiments without number. 10,000 failures did not break him because he understood the harvest. Every effort produces something, even if that something is only knowledge of what does not work. He obeyed the invisible order until light itself obeyed him. The secret, then, is not to go searching for opportunity. It is to become opportunity. Serve beyond your station, and you will rise beyond it. Life always advances the man who advances himself first. When your reward comes, the world will call it sudden. You will know it was the flowering of seeds you planted long ago in silence. Decide your conduct before reward appears, not after. What you are when no one is watching is what you will soon be known for in public. Greatness is only character that has been given enough time. Part 2. The law of definite direction, the mind that commands its circumstances. Once a man has learned to serve beyond himself, he must learn to direct himself. Power that is scattered builds nothing. Power that is focused builds empires. Purpose is not a wish. It is a command given to thought. It is the law that turns drifting into destiny. Most men work hard and accomplish little because they work without a clear aim. They mistake movement for progress. I have met men who were forever busy yet stood in the same place years later. Their energy was real, but it had no direction, like a wheel spinning hard in mud. A horse that runs in circles grows tired, but never moves forward. So does the man with no fixed aim. Effort without direction is the most common form of failure. It wears men down without ever building them up. The tragedy of the talented drifter is that he lives by chance. He waits for opportunity instead of creating it. He starts things and abandons them when they get hard. He changes his plan before the plan has had time to work. He thinks he needs more talent. What he needs is one decision carried all the way to its end. I call this the law of definite direction. A thought fixed on a clear goal organizes forces around it that cannot be seen. The subconscious, the environment, even strangers begin moving as though drawn toward the same outcome. Definiteness turns chaos into order and turns a wish into a command. Andrew Carnegie built his empire through this same law. His purpose was not vague. It was organized and specific. He gathered men of ability around a single aim. Every plan, every action, every partnership served that aim. Where others saw confusion, he saw command. Indecision is the thief of a man's life. Every delayed choice becomes a habit of delay. The man who hesitates trains his will to disobey him. Every firm decision cuts a road through uncertainty. Every hesitation lets the weeds grow thicker. I once knew a clerk who resolved never to leave a decision unanswered. When direction was needed, he would decide at once and correct course as he moved forward. Within a few years he rose to executive rank. Men trusted him because he trusted himself. The world always follows the man who decides. Beware of a mind without command. A mind that changes its aim every week becomes like a compass spinning with no fixed point. It cannot guide anything. Consistency, not brilliance, is what builds lasting credibility. Henry Ford showed this in his determination to build a car for ordinary people. The world laughed. Investors left. Critics were certain he would fail, yet his definite direction turned every obstacle into a refinement of his aim. The road that began in ridicule ended in revolution. Repeat these words until they become belief. I know what I want. I decide it daily. My mind obeys my command. 9:48 a.m. Every action, every thought moving toward one purpose. Decision repeated becomes identity. Identity repeated becomes fate. A decisive man becomes magnetic. People sense clarity and gather around it. They may not agree with him, but they trust his certainty. The uncertain push people away. The certain draw them in. Leadership begins with a mind that knows what it wants. Decision requires courage more than intelligence. The man who delays out of fear of making a wrong choice loses both his time and his confidence. The winner decides quickly, adjusts wisely, and keeps going until results appear. Life punishes hesitation by slowly eating away at a man's faith in himself. The law of definite direction does not promise a straight road. It prevents a man from having no road at all. Even when circumstances shift, the man with purpose adjusts his course rather than abandoning his destination. He knows the storm is temporary. The compass inside him is permanent. Faith, then, is not belief without proof. It is obedience without hesitation. To act as though your success were already decided, that is faith in its highest form. The man of faith and direction walks calmly where others panic because he has already chosen his outcome. Abraham Lincoln lived by one definite aim: to preserve the Union. Every policy, every letter, every decision flowed from that single resolve. History remembers him not for the position he held, but for the principle he obeyed. Purpose lifted him beyond politics. When you repeat your purpose faithfully, the mind begins to operate as though the aim were already achieved. What you rehearse with sincerity, life eventually performs. This is not mystery. It is the mechanics of the spirit. Once purpose becomes law within a man, fear grows smaller. He stops rushing. He becomes patient because he knows where he is going. The wanderer worries about time. The purposeful man measures time by progress, not by the clock. Fix your mind upon one great aim and obey it as though it were a direct instruction. Direction transforms effort into achievement and turns time into something worth spending. A mind trained to command itself will command its circumstances. Part 3. The Law of Inner Expansion. The habit that builds the man who cannot fail. Success is not an event. It is growth. A man does not arrive at success. He expands into it. The power to win is not found in a single moment of triumph. It is found in the slow, invisible enlargement of the mind and the character. Every act of persistence, every repeated discipline stretches what a man is capable of. True victory is not the conquest of circumstance. It is the mastery of self. I learned this through long years of error. 25 years passed before I understood that knowledge alone does not change a man. I had gathered principles, spoken them, even taught them to others, but I had not yet lived them every day. Knowledge is a seed. Habit is the soil. Without daily practice, truth remains only theory, and theory feeds no man. Many men decide boldly, but persist weakly. They make great promises to themselves in moments of inspiration and then retreat at the first sign of difficulty. They mistake the excitement of a decision for the discipline of carrying it out. But life, like nature, tests every decision through time. It asks one question: will you obey long enough for the harvest to appear? Persistence is not punishment. It is proof. It shows that you mean what you declared. Each day you repeat your purpose, you drive its root deeper into your subconscious until it becomes the governing law of your being. The mountain does not move at the first command. It yields slowly to the man who refuses to walk away. I call this the law of inner expansion. Every small effort faithfully repeated builds unseen strength. A single blow from a blacksmith's hammer seems weak, but the sum of all those blows shapes steel. So too, the disciplined mind shapes destiny. Each repetition of principle increases your inner strength until success becomes something you no longer force, but simply express. I once knew a writer rejected by every publisher he approached. For years he carried that humiliation. Then one day he decided to treat every rejection as a lesson. Each no became his teacher. When his book was finally printed, the world called it an overnight success. But I saw the truth. 15 years of invisible preparation had made him inevitable. That is the law of accumulation. Every repetition adds unseen momentum. The day of breakthrough seems sudden only to those who never counted the work that went before it. To the man who persisted, it is simply the day of rightful harvest. All success is cumulative. The only question is whether you are still planting when others have stopped. Edison understood this. He said he had not failed 10,000 times, but had found 10,000 ways that did not work. Each experiment trained his mind to think more precisely. Failure to him was education. The man who treats difficulty as tuition never pays twice for the same lesson. Do not pray for lighter burdens. Pray for stronger shoulders. Life will not reduce its weight to suit your weakness. It will increase your strength to match its demand. The size of the success you carry will always equal the size of the man carrying it. That is why the disciplined man grows larger than his difficulties, while the weak man is crushed beneath them. Repeat these words until they take up permanent residence inside you. Every day I expand. Every difficulty strengthens me. My habits are building the man who cannot fail. I am becoming what I decide through persistence made perfect. This is not a phrase of comfort. It is a command to the builder inside you who is waiting for instructions. Habit is stronger than willpower alone. Will opens the door, but habit keeps it open. The man who builds the right habits performs rightly without struggle. Discipline practiced long enough becomes something close to pleasure. Work stops being duty and becomes expression. Habit is the unseen hand that moves the visible world. You are not what you wish to be. You are what you repeatedly do. Every hour of discipline is the shaping of invisible architecture that the world will one day see and call talent or luck or genius. Men who live by this law appear calm and fortunate, but their fortune is simply consistency rewarded by time. Their confidence does not come from arrogance. It comes from knowing that their daily effort never fails to produce something. The world bows to those who keep their word with themselves. Lincoln's greatness grew through defeat. Each loss in his early years expanded his patience. Each disappointment refined his ability to understand others. By the time he reached power, he no longer led from emotion but from principle. His failures had not broken him. They had built the inner capacity required to carry the weight of a nation. Problems are the exercise of the soul. Without resistance, the spirit shrinks. Every trial builds endurance and reveals strength that was sleeping inside all along. Adversity is not a sign that you have been forgotten. It is the signature of preparation. Those whom life trains the hardest are those it intends to trust with the most. Faith, too, must mature through repetition. It is not blind belief. It is the ability to act again when results are slow to come. Faith is sustained motion under a law you cannot yet see. The man who keeps moving while others wait proves he understands something deeper than appearances. The universe serves those who obey before they have proof. Do not look down on repetition. Repetition is not monotony. It is creation. Every act of excellence began as dull, thankless practice. The violinist repeats until mastery appears. The leader repeats principle until others feel it as certainty. The builder repeats form until beauty emerges. So too must you repeat right thought until it becomes instinct. Beware the illusion of arrival. Many who taste success begin to relax, forgetting that the law never rests. The same persistence that builds greatness must also preserve it. Neglect turns mastery into mediocrity. The price of greatness is continued obedience to principle. The top of one mountain is only the base of a larger one. Say to yourself each night, I build today. I repeat tomorrow. I grow forever. These words program the mind for continuity. They remind you that success is not a destination, but a state of constant becoming. The moment a man stops improving, he begins to decline. Carnegie understood this law deeply. He grew men around him because he first grew himself. His empire expanded not through chance, but through the steady cultivation of intelligence, harmony, and faith. He increased by creating others who could increase alongside him. The secret to winning in life, then, is not a mystery. It is maturity. The mature man no longer asks for miracles. He asks for law, obeys it, and reaps what it produces. His peace does not come from events. It comes from understanding the order behind events. He does not chase success. He becomes the kind of man to whom success cannot be denied. And when you live this way, others begin to see it. They call you calm under pressure, steady in storms, certain in your aim. They trust you before they can explain why, because consistency speaks more convincingly than any words you could offer. Your results become your witness. Your presence becomes quiet instruction to everyone watching. I have learned the secret. Think clearly, act daily, persist faithfully, serve gladly. These four things make any man inevitable. There is no greater fortune than arriving at that understanding. Success is never earned suddenly. It is compounded in silence. Each act of self-command adds another layer to a foundation the world cannot yet see. And when the structure finally rises into view, those watching will call it sudden. You will know how long the ground was being prepared. And so I tell you now, if you would save yourself 25 years of wandering, begin this moment. Live by law, not by impulse. Obey principle, not applause. Time cannot be cheated. It rewards only those who have planted faithfully. The habits you form today are